Hi, I'm Candice, and welcome to Fight For It Now. Tonight we'll be reviewing the highly anticipated event, Fight For It 18, at the Grady Cole Center in Charlotte, North Carolina on January 27th. So let's get into it. To start with, Fight For It 18 is by far the most anticipated event we've ever held, with 28 fights currently on the card. The main event alone promises to be one of the most exciting matchups the Carolinas has ever seen. For more on that fight, I'll turn it over to Fight For It Live commentator Dylan McGrath.
Thanks, Candice. In the time that I've been an analyst for Fight For It, there have been very few fights that have excited me as much as this one. Our main event for January 27th, Tanner Saraceno taking on Truckon Carson. Truckon Carson, of course, returning to the sport of MMA after a long hiatus, but it's not as if he has been on the couch. This man has been active, to say the least, in bare knuckle in the last 2 years, and if you follow the sport closely, you would know that he is one of the breakout stars to emerge in that sport in that time, and every time he steps into the bare knuckle ring, he produces a Fight of the Year candidate. I expect him to bring the same level of entertaining aggression and that willingness to take risks to get a finish that we know Truckon for in bare knuckle back to MMA, because he will need it against Tanner Saraceno, in my opinion. After seeing his former teammate and training partner Impa Kasanganay win the PFL World Championships and the $1 million bonus that comes along with that, Truckon Carson was inspired to get back into MMA, and he made a resolution that in 2024, not only would he do so, but he would go, in his own words, big game hunting. And there is very little big game that is on the scale of Tanner Saraceno in the welterweight division in the Southeast. We are talking about a proven fighter with 16 pro fights, and over those 16 pro fights, we have only seen Tanner get better and better and better. Of course, this culminated in his last appearance at Fight For It when he took on Cub Hawkins and showed a very educated approach with kicks, leading the charge in his offense to shut down the much more explosive and much more aggressive bare-knuckle boxer that was Cub. Does that sound familiar? I think he'll need to use a very similar strategy here against Truckon and try to slow the fight down. Try to make Truckon fight at an MMA pace instead of the chaotic, lightning-fast speed that he is used to producing in bare-knuckle. I think that we can expect Truckon, like I said earlier, to take a risk and swing for the fences. And we cannot let our fans forget what happens when he decides to do so, as evidenced as his last appearance at Fight For It when he last fought MMA. He was able to pick up a very early knockout in a very violent fashion, which was, of course, preceded by one of the scariest walkouts me or my broadcast partner Trevor Hayes had ever seen. And I'm expecting a similar level of both entertainment and violence when these two clash on January 27th at one of the most important venues in fight history for Charlotte, for the Carolinas in general, the Grady Cole Center. I'm very excited for this one. I know our producer Jason and all the people in the back are very excited about this one, and it's for a good reason. Back to you, Candice.
Thanks, Dylan. You can hear more from Dylan as he will provide live commentary on the pay-per-view Fight For It 18. Along with the main event, there are 3 other pro fights, 12 amateur MMA fights, and 11 kickboxing fights for an entire day of 27 fights. The other pro fights feature 1-0 David Collins, fighting from Outfox MMA in Virginia Beach, faces 1-0 George Lowe from Gemmo in Charlotte, North Carolina. This fight has already generated a ton of buzz on social media. Next, fighting out of Carolina Combat in Charlotte, North Carolina, Kevin Peraza makes his debut against 1-0 Michael Hall out of Matrix MMA in Greensboro, North Carolina. Our 4th pro fight pits 1-0 Ralston Thomas out of Team Rock in Fayetteville, North Carolina against 1-0 Brandon Holmes out of TNT Martial Arts in Columbia, South Carolina. Some marquee matchups on the amateur card include 3-1 Jacob Pies versus 6-2 Upright Odamina, Jameson Thompson versus Josh Doster, and Wyatt Joyce versus Michael DeLozier. I always like to show appreciation to the women who are tough enough to step into the cage. With that, we have Natalia Francois stepping up against Bree Snyder and Melanie Bradley facing off against Hannah Matthews. Both of these fights will be under the kickboxing rule set. The Fight For It women never fail to bring the fireworks, and these 4 women should be no exception. And we can't forget the icing on the cake. The beautiful Fight For It knockouts Madison, Mackenzie, Haven, and myself will be there to make sure you don't get distracted between rounds. On January 27th, come prepared to make a full day of it. The kickboxing fights will start at 3 p.m., followed by MMA fights at 7 p.m. Hot food and cold drinks will also be available. In-person and pay-per-view tickets are on sale now at fightforitcompany.com. Use promo Candice for $5 off each ticket. Tickets and pay-per-view links will be delivered to your email instantly, and the pay-per-view will begin a few minutes before the first fight. As has become customary, look for Fight For It 18 to deliver an explosive night of combat sports action and excitement. We look forward to seeing you at the Grady Cole Center in Charlotte, North Carolina on January 27th. Tickets are available at fightforitcompany.com. They are going quick, so don't sleep on purchasing. I'm Candice, and I'll see you in the cage.